There are moments in life where you look around and it feels like nobody is there. The friends you thought would be your ride or die aren't answering the phone. The family members who said, "I have got you," suddenly get too busy. The people who used to cheer for you go silent. You start wondering, am I in this by myself? That's when doubt creeps in and loneliness tries to wrap itself around your mind. But here's what's real. People might step back, but God never takes a step away. It's easy to feel abandoned when you can't physically see who's walking with you. That's why faith isn't about eyesight, it's about trust. You might be sitting in a room by yourself, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of life pressing down, but there's an unseen presence right there beside you. The reason you haven't completely fallen apart is that His hand is still holding you up, even when you don't feel it. Sometimes God allows the crowd to thin out on purpose. He doesn't want the wrong voices influencing your steps. If everybody stayed around, you'd start depending on people instead of Him. So He lets the noise fade, the opinions vanish, and suddenly it's just you and Him. That isolation you hate so much might be the very thing that's keeping you from getting off track. Think about the seasons in your life when you thought you couldn't keep going. Maybe it was a heartbreak, a financial crisis, a betrayal, or a loss that took the wind out of you. Looking back now, you realize you did keep going. Not because you were that strong, but because there was strength walking beside you that didn't come from you. That wasn't luck. That wasn't a coincidence. That was God matching your every step when you thought you were crawling. The problem is we often expect God's presence to feel like fireworks or loud announcements, but He's not always in the noise. Sometimes He's in the quiet moments, in the way you found the energy to get out of bed this morning, in the way you made it through a day you thought would break you. That's Him. That's proof you are not walking alone. The enemy wants you to believe you are alone because loneliness makes people quit. If he can convince you that no one cares, no one sees you, and no one's helping you, he can drain your hope. But when you know deep down that God is still walking with you, that lie loses its power. Your steps may be slow, but they are still moving forward because he's matching your pace. Every step you take in faith is a step with him. You might not feel the warmth of his hand, but you are still being led. You might not hear his voice in every moment, but you are still being guided. Even in the darkest paths, his light is still beside you, making sure you don't take a step you weren't meant to take. The first thing people think when life gets chaotic is, where's God? If he were really with me, this wouldn't be happening. But that's not how it works. A storm in your life doesn't mean he left you. It means you are about to see a different side of him. Think about it. Even the disciples who walked with Jesus daily faced storms while he was right there with them. If they weren't exempt from storms, why do we expect to be? A lot of people want faith to be a life jacket that keeps them from ever getting wet. But God never promised you a storm-free life. He promised you that when the waves start rising, you won't drown. You might get splashed. You might feel the wind. You might even get knocked down for a moment. But he's still in the boat. The same presence that's with you in peace is the same presence that's with you in chaos. The truth is, storms reveal who you trust. It's easy to believe God is good when the water is calm, but the real test comes when the waves are high, the sky is dark, and our boat feels like it's about to capsize. That's when you find out if you have been trusting in your ability to row or if you have been trusting the one who controls the sea. We also forget that storms can be divine classrooms. They strip away comfort, distractions, and false security. In the storm, you learn to pray differently. You stop with the fancy words and start crying out from the heart. You realize just how much you have been trying to handle on your own, and you finally let him take the wheel. That's when the peace that makes no sense shows up. Not because the storm is over, but because you know who's with you in it. Some storms are sent to redirect you. You were going one way, but God knew it wasn't where you were meant to end up. So he allowed the winds to push you into a new direction. At first, it feels like punishment, but later you realize it was protection. The storm didn't come to destroy you. It came to make sure you didn't settle in a place that couldn't sustain you. Other storms come to reveal his power in ways you have never seen. You will never know he's a healer until you have been sick. You will never know he's a provider until you have had nothing left. You will never know he's a protector until danger shows up. The storm becomes the stage where God performs miracles you would have never believed if you hadn't been in that situation. Sometimes the storm is the proof that you are on the right path. The enemy doesn't waste energy attacking people who aren't a threat. If your life suddenly feels like everything is coming against you at once, it might just be confirmation that you are getting closer to what God has for you. We spend so much of our lives trying to look strong for everyone around us. We put on that I'm fine face even when inside we're breaking down. But there comes a point when life hits so hard that no mask can hide the cracks. That's when you feel the weakest, when your energy is gone, your plan failed, and your strength has run out. And it's in that exact place that God shows up the loudest, Beck. As now there's no question about who's carrying you. Your weakness is not a disqualification for God's presence. It's an invitation for his power. As long as you are trying to handle everything yourself, you will always limit what he can do. But the moment you collapse into his arms and admit, I can't do this on my own, you open the door for him to move in ways you could never make happen. What you see as failure, he sees as the perfect stage for his strength to be revealed. Think about the times you were at rock bottom. You didn't have the money, you didn't have the answers, you didn't have the backup plan, and somehow you made it through. You didn't pull that off because you suddenly became stronger. You made it because God carried you when you couldn't walk another step. That's not just survival, that's supernatural support. The world tells you weakness is a flaw, but in God's hands, it becomes a weapon. When you are weak, you are no longer relying on human logic or ability. You are relying on divine power. That's why you have made it through things other people couldn't understand. They saw your situation and thought it would take you out. But what they didn't see was the one standing behind you, holding you up. When you are strong, people might give you credit. But when you are weak and still standing, everyone knows it wasn't you. Your testimony becomes louder than your struggle. People start asking, how are you still here? How are you still smiling? And your answer is simple, because God stepped in where your strength stopped. Your weakest moments strip away the illusion that you are in control. You realize real quick that your degrees, your connections, your hustle, none of that can hold you together when life comes for you, but God can. And the beauty of it is, he's not waiting for you to impress him. He's waiting for you to surrender to him. Every time you survive a season you thought would destroy you, you are experiencing proof of this truth. You didn't win because you were the strongest person in the fight. You won because God fought for you when you didn't have the strength to fight for yourself. Sometimes life feels random, like you are just bouncing from one event to another with no real plan. But the truth is, before you ever took your first breath, God had already mapped out every step you would take. That means the places you have been, the doors that opened, the doors that closed, none of it caught him off guard. Even the mistakes you made, he already knew about, and he factored them into the route. You are not just wandering, you are walking in a path that has already been written. That's why some things you prayed for didn't happen. Not because you weren't good enough, but because it wasn't part of the path he designed for you. He saw further than you could see. So when he said no, it was really a not on this road. And later, you will look back and thank him for every detour that didn't make sense at the time. The beauty of ordered steps is that even when you think you are lost, you are not. You might feel like you have taken a wrong turn, but God has this way of redirecting you without you even realizing it. He can use a setback as a shortcut. He can use a heartbreak to put you on a better road. He can take what was meant to destroy you and turn it into the very thing that positions you for purpose. We get impatient because we can't see the whole plan. We want the full map before we move, but God often gives you just enough light for the next step. That's intentional. If you saw the entire journey at once, you'd either get overwhelmed or try to skip the hard parts. But every single step, even the slow ones, even the painful ones, is preparing you for the destination when you understand. And your steps are ordered. You stop comparing your pace to someone else's. Just because they seem ahead of you doesn't mean they are on your path. Your road has its timing, its scenery, its lessons. Trying to walk someone else's path will only slow down what God's trying to do in yours. If God ordered your steps, then your current position isn't an accident. That job you hate might be teaching you discipline for the promotion he's sending. That season of waiting might be building your patience for the blessing he's preparing. Even the quiet seasons are part of the order. Nothing is wasted. When you trust that your steps are ordered, you walk